Hey guys, it's Mike again. I haven't posted in a while. Decided to come back with a UFC fight prediction for UFC 129. I attempted in doing this before a second ago, and the camera or the Adobe player, whatever it is, crashed. So I'm not going to take that much time as I did the first time. Just go through this again. There's 5 fights on the main card. The first is a lightweight bout between Mark Bosek and Ben Henderson. I decided to give this one to Mark Bosek because of his superior discipline, higher and more training, and his greater reach. And I think wrestling will be a major factor because this boy's got a lot of submissions under his belt. He's apparently a very good wrestler. One of the two light heavyweight bouts we have. First one is Randy Couture and Lyoto Machida. It'll be good to see Lyoto back after he needs to recover from his double loss against Rua and Rampage. But I mean, you got to think of him. He was on a winning streak before that, and it's nice that we will. I think we're going to see the Dragon rise again. Randy Couture shouldn't even still be fighting. He is way too old for this anymore. I mean, he's 6 years older than Liddell when he retired. Not to mention he's been knocked out by Chuck Liddell twice. So I think Machida, who is taller and and has a reach advantage, and also again superior training, is a third dan in Shotokan Karate in addition to his black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So I think that'll give him a huge advantage. All right, the other light heavyweight bout is Vladimir Matyushenko and Jason Brills. I don't know much about either one of those fighters, but they seem to be pretty evenly matched as far as just statistics regularly are concerned. So, saying that, I'll give the advantage to the one with the greater reach, and who seems to have the advantage in terms of, say, submission. And I'll give that to Matyushenko. Although Matyushenko is 40 years old compared to Jason Brill's 35 years. He has greater reach, he's taller, and actually they both have a good amount of submissions. So I think this might depend more on their stand-up game, because their submissions seem pretty even, so this could really go either way, but I'm just going to give it to the one with the greater reach, and that's usually what I do when I don't know much about either one of the fighters. Featherweight bout is going to be between Jose Aldo and Mark Hominick. I decided to give that one to Aldo because of his superior knockout power and his greater reach. He has a very large amount of knockouts, and I think that Jason Brills is going to have a rough time not only reaching him but also dealing with. Now, and again, according to I'm reading this now, Brills hasn't been knocked out yet. But I think if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Aldo because Aldo has his own awesome knockout power, and I think we might see Jason Bill's first knockout again. Like with the ones before him, I don't know a lot about either one of those fighters, but I've seen Aldo's fight before, and he is vicious. So I think we'll have a good one there. Then we go to the main event: George St. Pierre, the man of Canada, and Jake Shields, the guy who's just pretty much been flying under the radar. Now we all know St. Pierre. We all know St. Pierre's record. He's 20-2 if my memory serves correctly. His only losses are to Matt Hughes and Matt Serra, both of which he reversed, defeating them, and he is the welterweight champion. And I especially want to see St. Pierre win for no other reason other than simply because of Dana White saying that if he wins, he's pretty much cleaned out the division, so he moves up to middleweight and fights Anderson Silva, and that's a fight everyone wants to see. Don't tell me you don't want to see St. Pierre versus Silva. Have St. Pierre move up 15 pounds, fighting at 185. So you've got the 5'10", 185-pound. I think St. Pierre's reach is, what is it, 76? 5'10", 185, 76-inch reach for him. And then you bring in Anderson Silva, 6'2", I believe he has a 77 or a 78-inch reach. 77 and a half. So reach will be just about even. Yes, Silva's 4 inches taller, but that would be a match to be anything, because it would be between St. Pierre's superior wrestling versus Silva's superior striking. But I'm getting ahead of myself. St. Pierre has to beat Jake Shields first. And of course, I want St. Pierre to win. That doesn't necessarily mean he will. Now, as far as Jake Shields goes, Jake Shields is 26-4. Well, 26-4-1 actually, and he's won 11 of his fights by submission. Now he's a very powerful wrestler. As far as his knockout power goes, not so much. He has 3 knockouts, but he is much more of a submission artist. Now, I'm going to agree with something that Dana White said. The kid's a very good wrestler, but St. Pierre knows pretty much how to chew up and spit out wrestlers. And St. Pierre is a very good wrestler himself. Well, neither one of these guys have very good knockout power. I don't think we're going to see a knockout. This fight's either going to be by submission or decision. Where you have Jake Shields 11 submissions, and St. Pierre only actually has 5 submissions. He does have 8 knockouts, but like St. Pierre is really not known for knocking people out. But I have to admit, St. Pierre's given one of the most brutal endings to a fight ever. When he fought Matt Serra. You know Matt Serra was pissing blood after that. Just sitting there kneeing him. He looked like he was doing mountain climbers on his body. I mean, just sitting there, just knee. I'm pretty sure yeah, Matt Serra had to be pissing blood after that fight. St. Pierre is a very well-rounded fighter. I didn't think he had as many knockouts as he did. I just had to look up the record, but he's just as good a wrestler. Not as precise a striker as maybe some of the other guys, like I mentioned, Anderson Silva. But he's a decent striker, and he's a very powerful wrestler, and he has a pretty good ability of controlling where the fight goes. If he wants to fight on the ground, he'll take you down. Now, he's fighting against probably one of the better wrestlers there are. I mean, yeah, St. Pierre is a third dan in Kyokushin Karate, a black belt in both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Gaido Jutsu. So he is incredibly well-rounded in that, and Kyokushin Karate is very brutal. I mean, and George St. Pierre has ambitions of trying out for the Canadians wrestling in Olympics. In the Olympics. And those people are a whole different level of athlete. But I mean, if he thinks he's ready for that. Now, GSP has a 3-inch reach advantage, despite the fact that Jake Shields is 2 inches taller. So he'll have a pretty good reach advantage of 3 inches dealing with Jake Shields. Now, Jake Shields' submissions are what he needs to watch out for. They're both very good wrestlers, but he doesn't want to get himself caught in a submission because that's the most humiliating way to lose. One thing I think find cool, Rumble on the Rock, Jake Shields defeated Yushin Okami, which is pretty good because Okami's nothing to scoff at unless you're Anderson Silva. He's like, I knock you out with an illegal move. He also took out Dan Henderson, which is pretty good. So all in all, I think if GSP can control the ground and keep Shields wrestling in check, then he's got him. I think really the only threat against St. Pierre keeping his title and then moving up to challenge Silva is Jake Shields wrestling. So as long as he can keep his opponent's wrestling in check, I give that to St. Pierre. All right, and those are my predictions. I'll make a video of the fight review after it happens. So, just to reiterate, my picks are Mark Bosek defeating Ben Henderson, Lyoto Machida defeating Randy Couture, Vladimir Matyushenko defeating Jason Brills, although I think that could go either way. Jose Aldo and Mark McCormick giving it to Aldo, and St. Pierre versus Jake Shields, I give it to St. Pierre. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully St. Pierre wins because I want to see that super fight with Silva. I wouldn't even know who to root for, but I'm pretty sure Silva would probably win. But it'd still be a fight to see for sure. Alright, I'll see you guys in 2 days after the fight happens.